boy Mahesh. Thanks for coming, man.
No problem, man. Happy to be here.
How you been, bro? First of all, congratulations and get married Saturday.
Saturday.
Yeah, I don't know if I was meant to tell the whole world about that, but it's all good, man. How's things, man? You looking forward to it?
Good, man. Good.
Yeah.
Very it's been good. Build up's been good. Organized a few things last minute this week, and
Family's excited.
very excited.
Yeah.
So no, looking forward to it, man.
Should be a good day, good weekend.
Fun. Yeah, a lot of fun.
Yeah. You
Low
guys.
key though, very low key.
Yeah.
60, 70 people.
Yeah. Why not keep it close? You know. Yeah.
It'll be nice.
Yeah.
It'll
It'll be nice regardless.
For sure.
Yeah. How's other things been, man? I know you we spoke offline a little bit about Oza facility.
Yeah.
Oza facility? Am I saying
that's
it
the
right?
one. Yeah. Say Oza.
Yeah. For those that don't know, I went some time ago to do some video content that I'll kind of give the floor to you, but tell me a little bit about Oza facility.
Sure.
And kind of like their purpose and
So basically, the company itself, the brand itself, AUSAHOOPS, is a platform for kind of high school basketball talent to get over to the States to get college scholarships and play college ball over there. They've been going for a number of years now, probably pushing on a decade. I think they've been running. And last year they came into a space at that gym, Tempest Gym, where they got 2 half courts. And I talked to my friend who runs the company. His name's Reese.
So were they in Sydney before that at all?
They were kind of based in Sydney, but nationwide.
Nationwide.
Yeah, so they were doing everywhere.
Yeah. This place is in Thornley.
This place is Thornley. Yeah, this place is Thornley. But before that, they haven't had a facility. So I knew AUSAHOOPS was running. I knew they were doing their thing. They were hiring courts to do things and run their camps and all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
And I was training and coaching at Tempest before it was the facility. And then I hit up my friend. I thought, listen, there's a good space. I'm coaching a few kids a week. You've got hundreds of kids that you work with and stuff. Like maybe we could make something happen. And then one thing led to another. This was late 2018.
Yeah.
And within a couple of months, we started that facility, and I was the head coach there, training there, and looking after all the kids that came through. It was open to the public for shoot around. First 24-hour basketball facility in the country. That's what we were trying to get, and it made it happen. And it's been up and running for a while now. It's going pretty well.
Yeah. It's a cool facility.
It's cool, man. 2 half courts.
So was that AUSAHOOPS?
Yeah.
Was that always their kind of their platform, and the idea was to help kind of feed up and coming players and people that are aspiring to play high level basketball into the US?
100%. The avenues for high school kids are pretty limited in this country. Like there's not much you can do, man. You play, make a state team, or you play representative basketball for your clubs like Hills, Norths, Penrith, Sutherland, all these different suburbs. And then after that, there's no real feeding system into what to do afterwards. You finish high school, and then it's kind of like, all right, well,
where do I go?
Pick up a trade or go to uni. But the college basketball system in the States obviously way more expensive, and you get a lot more opportunities out of that. So trying to bridge those gaps. So for the AUSAHOOPS have been taking kids over to play what's called AAU basketball, which is high school basketball over there. Okay. It's like when college season finishes, high school basketball season starts.
Gotcha.
And they go around the country touring and playing different high school tournaments, and all the college coaches are out recruiting and scouting and things. So they get into those tournaments and play and get kids exposure. So
I was actually gonna ask you before, like, how did it come about that they could build such a relationship? But I'm assuming this is how it would have gone about, just saying that, hey, we're gonna bring a team over.
Well, Reese, the guy who runs it, is, I played my juniors with him, so I know him pretty well. And
shout out to Reese.
He was a freak of an athlete, great basketball player, and he managed to secure a scholarship in Oregon State.
Okay.
So he went over there. He was there in the collegiate system for about 4 or 5 years. Then he went to school in Hawaii. Obviously, he's a good guy and networks well. So he made a lot of contacts through his time there. And then,
good on him too. To think that far ahead, man.
I think it's just his personality.
Gotcha.
That type of stuff. So he and then when he came back, I think he was kind of like, oh, let me start this thing. Started off pretty low key. First trip he went over, he took over maybe a team, maybe 10 kids. I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but 10 to 12 kids he would have taken over. That was back in maybe 2012, 2013, something like that. This time around, this July, probably going to take over about 100 kids. 120 kids. So it's just growing, man. And he's just built that himself, basically. Obviously, with a lot of help from people. But his company,
with his vision and
and providing something. And when you do something like that, you get a lot of people that doubt it and say things about it. It's just natural with that type of stuff. But I think he's doing really good things, man.
Well, if you go back on what you just said in terms of finishing high school and then kind of figuring out where do I go, no one should really complain in the sense that, you know, what other platforms are there?
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So you're very limited, even if there is other ones. Like, it's not like, oh, you know, if you're chasing, say, the basketball dream, and you're coming up the ranks here, chances are you're like, where do I go after? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Whereas over time, this might set the platform for other people and other organizations to be like, hey, we need to start building some sort of kind of channel, you know, channel.
This time is a really good time for Australian basketball as well. Like, we have a lot of guys in the NBA at the moment. It's very common for Australian players to be playing college basketball. We've probably got the most Australian college athletes now than ever before. Like, in fact, definitely, without a doubt.
In the States?
In the States, playing college ball, college soccer, or whatever it might be. Mainly basketball, I'd say. And it's just an avenue now that's viable. When I was growing up in high school, it was like the top kids from the AIS probably get to go college. You know, like Patty Mills, Andrew Bogut, like the top kids. Now it's kind of like anyone can just get a tape together, or contact like an agency, figure it out, contact the coach, send a game tape, and now it's just a lot easier to get over there.
It's much easier now in terms of the state of just even social media to be able to connect that event.
Massive difference,
like, just to be able to you could just put your videos out there, and then, you know, other people could jump on board, like 100%. Fans or people fans of what you're doing. And just through that avenue, you could get you know, you could get some light shined on whatever you're doing, right? We're all over the world now.
World's closer now, man.
That's what I mean. Like, you know, I think someone else was telling me the other day, like, don't you just find it weird now? You can just talk to someone, and you can talk to someone on the other side of the world right now, this second.
My stepdaughter always asks me, she's like, yo, how did you message people? Home phone.
That's it, man. Like, dial 8 numbers first just to dial the actual number. You know what I mean? And then you gotta wait there and hope they pick up. Exactly.
If you're out somewhere, it's like public phone. Using payphones.
Now you can tell them the day before, I'm gonna ring you at this time tomorrow. Through WhatsApp. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's crazy, right? As well.
But and then so they take them over the States and they play high school basketball there. And are they seen, like, are they on the same kind of platform in the sense, like, when scouts come, right? Because it's such a hard market to tap into in the fact that, you know, already they got established avenues there from college to high school to even their, I'm not sure in terms of like clubs and whatever, but just, you know, basketball in general, there'll already be so many established players. So it's almost a bit of a pat in the back and a bit of I guess a lot of respect for Aussie basketball players that aspire to play in the NBA because if college teams have a lot of Aussie players, whether it's basketball, soccer, whatever it is, I mean, it just shows you that we got the talent.
Definitely. I think we have a reputation. Australians have a reputation for playing hard, playing physically, playing tough. I think that reputation exists. So, and college basketball is it has that a little bit of that in it. You know, if you're a dog and you play hard defense and you're tough, you can make a name for yourself. And guys like Delver Dover, Ryan Brokoff, Patty Mills paved the way, like being Aussies that have gone on to make some noise in the NBA, and then they've come up through the collegiate system. They've all played college basketball. And you know, it's a very small percentage that go on to make the NBA, even from college. Like, you're talking about college basketball, everyone just throws that term around like college basketball. If you're a college basketball player, you're going to make the NBA. It's like less than 1%, 0.5% make the jump to the NBA. I'd probably say less than 5% turn into pros. But the opportunity to go there and get a 4-year degree paid for and enjoy training and playing with what you love that's what.
Well, I think the main thing is the opportunity, right? Like, at the end of the day, your end result's never gonna. It may not play out the way you expected it, and no one's gonna hand it over to you. But I think a lot of people just want to know, how do I get there? Show me the way, and then I'll do the work, right? So,
and that's what the AUSAHOOPS. That's what we kind of preach. That's what they've been preaching. Like, it's kind of like. You don't go on the tours to guarantee yourself a college scholarship. Go there for the experience, man. You go there for the opportunity to meet coaches, to get taped together, to understand what it's like. For a lot of kids as well, they go over there and they come back and go, this thing's not for me. I'm not good enough. Like, it's eye opening, man. And that's experience invaluable. It's not about just you go there, You go, all right, I want to get a college scholarship.
Yeah.
You go there and you figure out like there's
The
thousands of
levels,
kids.
yeah,
And you're like,
yeah.
"What, where am I even? How do I
Yeah.
even do this? Like,
Yeah,
and you realize that it's tough, man. It's
yeah.
a dog eat dog industry, and you got to be willing to like
And there would have been a
else.
few successful people through this avenue.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so
that.
AUSAHOOPS, they've got a lot of their alumni is growing pretty big now.
Yeah.
So they got a lot of kids, man. Like a few guys in the NBL right now that are playing. Couple guys, a lot of college athletes. I'd say more than 100 kids probably playing collegiate level basketball or elite prep school, high school level basketball in the States. And that's all the way from Div 1 down to D3.
Yeah.
NAIA, there's all these different levels. Like I said, like without knowing it, everyone just says college basketball, you think ESPN. That's not right. There's so many there's just different levels to it, and we cater to all of that. Like AUSAHOOPS been doing that for a long time, and they're really making a way. And there's all these other organisations now taking after that. I think a lot of other tools going on.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like it's just gonna lay the platform for other people to be like, man, I like what they're doing, and that's just such a smart idea to
definitely
to go and be able to create a pathway for kids to be able to go and play the highest level of basketball,
for sure.
which is the NBA, obviously, but obviously the pathway to get there.
Of course.
How do you feel this? What's your kind of mindset and outlook on the NBL right now?
Dude, it's dope, man. Like I've been watching NBL for a while.
I know.
I've been watching it, man.
For those that don't know, like this guy's the biggest basketball head. I've known him since I was straight out of high school, probably.
That's when I started getting into it heavy.
Yeah, 10 years or something like that. But man,
I've been watching it for a while, man. I like the scene at the
basketball,
moment.
yeah.
The scene at the moment is good, man. Like it's popping off. Like they have a program called the Next Stars program, which allows
who does
NBL, the Next Stars program. I don't know the ins and outs of it.
Yeah.
But I should actually look into it. But basically, I know that they get elite high school talent from the States to come over here and play a year or two before they declare for the draft. Like this year, they've got RJ Hampton, who's played for New Zealand Breakers. They had LaMelo Ball, who's played for Illawarra.
And he's heading back now, right?
Yeah, he's injured.
Oh, is he?
He hurt himself, and I think they've called the season, and he's just going to prepare for the draft now. But it's a cool program where I think they I don't know exactly how it works, but they get guys here to play in the league. To get their stock up, so they get to play in pros.
It grows the game. It grows the game.
They get names out here. Like we've had probably the most sellouts we've ever had in the NBL this year, just due to the fact LaMelo Ball. Like the name itself, his brother's in the NBA. His dad's crazy talking about stuff. So like his name holds a lot of weight, and plus he can hoop. Like he's a good basketball player. Young kid, 18. He's gonna go to the NBA, and it's cool to see like locals just here. He's playing for a small team like Illawarra.
I know.
Just going to see this guy. He's gonna be in the NBA next year. So it's cool. The NBL's doing some really good things, man, and putting it on the map in terms of that. And the standard's good, man. The standard's always been good. It's just
how they promote the game.
I think they've struggled at times, like reaching out to people and actually having people show up to games. But now I think with that, imports are probably the best they've been for a while. Every team has an NBA caliber or a few NBA caliber players that are right there on the cusp of making the NBA. And that's great, man. It's doing really well right now. I'm excited for the league.
I mean, from the NBL going over to the NBA, I'm sure that scouts will be watching, not just in NBL. I mean, any basketball organization, high level basketball organization around the world.
Of course.
So there's always, if you're doing really well, and someone in the NBA, one of the organizations have a look, and probably has been done before, obviously, 100%. Have a look and see, dude, we want this guy's playing well.
Well, like you take someone like
LaMelo
Ball. Every NBA team is following his progress because they're all looking to see how good this guy's going to be. So that's 32 teams in the NBA that are looking at this guy. And he plays he probably plays 25, 30 games in Australia. And every one of those games is watched by someone from an NBA
so not only he's being watched, if everyone else puts on the show,
this Australian kid who grew up here now is playing against LaMelo Ball,
and he's gonna turn up because he's gonna be like, everyone's watching him, so I'm gonna try to outplay him.
So just the exposure is high.
I think that's what it was with NBL, right? Even when they did that little shut off period where they kind of went off the map for a while and then came again, I think it was never the quality of basketball. It was how do we grow the game so that we can get any Joe Blow to be able to come, who was interested in basketball, to come actually watch,
Definitely.
And that all comes with how you promote the game and you know, how you get it out to the public and
No doubt.
marketing and all that kind of stuff.
Makes
So
a big
Yeah.
big difference, man. They're doing pretty well now, though,
Mm.
man. You know, Sydney's playing well.
yeah, I want to go catch some games actually.
Yeah,
I
you
was
should,
thinking
man.
that.
I've been to a couple this year.
Yeah.
I've been to a couple.
Kings?
Yeah, I went to a couple Kings games. I've been to a couple, so it's been good, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really good.
Do you ever think you get involved in somehow? I mean,
In the NBL?
Yeah.
The what I did was 2017. I was training with Illawarra actually.
Yeah.
So I did about.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Yeah, so I was there for about 6-7 months. I was training there,
Yeah.
going down there, making the trek to go down to Illawarra pretty much
Yeah.
4 times a week.
Yeah.
Training down there, and it's tough to get a roster spot, man. To get full-time
Mm.
contract, it's
Mm.
really difficult, man.
Mm.
There's only so many spots that they can offer.
Yeah.
But I tried. I gave it
Yeah.
a shot. I'm 32 now, so I'm still training.
Yeah.
Like I took
Yeah.
last year off.
Yeah. Yeah.
Didn't play much.
Yeah.
Didn't train much.
Yeah.
And it was regretted heavily. Like
Yeah.
I should have kept going. And now this year I'm trying to make a push.
That's funny.
Yeah,
That's
I'm
where I'm
just
at, man.
silly, bro.
Yeah.
Like I look back, 'cause I was coaching a lot.
Yeah.
I thought, you know what, maybe my playing days are over. But you
Nah,
It's-
it's yeah, man. Sometimes I think
draws
when
you
you're
back,
when you're all in it, and then you add like everything else that goes on in your life.
Yeah.
It's not that you take it for granted. It's that you just forget how big that aspect of that life and what you do matters to you. You know,
100%.
like the last what is it? I left work in April of last year, and fuck, man, within like 2 months, all right, not being able to like pay for training and whatever. Like obviously, I'm getting back into it this
Yeah,
year,
yeah.
you know, and I wanna get heavy. I got my own plans for that, but I was telling my wife, I'm like, it's like someone's dangling a carrot in front of me,
Yeah.
and you're hungry as fuck, and
For
every time you get closer, it gets further and further
Yeah,
away.
yeah, it's like
And
that.
I was like, you know, now it's like a whole different mindset because now I know what it feels like to not have it.
Of course.
And you know, whereas before, you know, you're just too busy with that, and then you're busy with everything else that life throws at you, right? For example, coaching, and I'm sure you know, and all those things, right?
Of course, man.
So you know, for me, like, part of me is just like, fuck, like I had it good, like, you know, fuck, I shouldn't have let it go. It's not that I let it go, it's just a decision. Like, but then I think mentally,
Yeah.
and physically, emotionally, you got to be good too, in order to get the best out of it. So now I feel like I'm in a good space when it comes to that as well. So now going back into it, it's almost like 100 miles per hour because it's like, man, fuck, I don't ever want to feel like this again. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
I'm with it, bro.
and you know, you've been doing it for so long, and you know, even though you know I've only had a few fights or whatnot, I was training constantly for like 10 years, man. You know, like since I was 21, 22. 5 days a week, you know, so it's like in all of that, when all these other issues and things in life and growth comes into it, that kind of gets put on the side a little bit because your mind is all on that, you know.
100%.
And I think you need to kind of go on a little bit of you know, you need to kind of step away sometimes to come back and
Yeah, and I didn't do it intentionally.
yeah, that's what I mean. It wasn't, yeah.
I was just like, listen, like I came back, I was playing India, and that kind of that went. They scrapped that league over there. So I messed around with some 3-on-3 basketball in India, and I wasn't enjoying that too much. And you know, so I was like, you know what, I'll just coach. I'm enjoying coaching. The facility thing happened. So then I was just doing hours and hours there.
Your mind would have just been fully bogged into that, right?
Now I'm coaching. Now I'm a full-time coach, and I committed to that. And then I was just the back end of last year was difficult, man. Like I was like a lot of things just happened.
Of course.
Catch up with you.
Yeah.
And now it's like I think one of the biggest regrets or learning experiences for me was like. My legs still work. I still have an itch to play. I have to play, man. It's an outlet for me for so long. Anything I went through, I'd hit the court, I'd train, I'd use it. And then last year I didn't, and then it caught up with me. And towards the end of last year, I was just under the pump and struggling with things, man. So now I'm a little bit rejuvenated. Summertime's over now, and you know I'm looking to train hard this year, man.
It's funny, man. I feel like I exactly know how you feel, and I think you got to rejuvenate your mind, body, and soul, man, in order to. You know, it all happens for a reason, man. You wouldn't be here. I guess you wouldn't be here thinking about it and talking about it if you didn't have to go through that, right? So, it's easy to say it when you know, but when you're going through it, you're like, fuck me, you're like, fuck all of this, man. You were talking about the Indian League, right? I remember when you went over there. Like, so I didn't know that they shut up shop with that league, but that was fucking pretty dope, man. Like, cool, and they had some pretty legit players, and for those watching, Indian League doesn't mean just Indian players. There were all sorts of players that came around the world, right?
they started. I went over there. My first season there was 2016.
Yeah. Because you were there for a bit, right?
I was there for about 4 seasons.
Yeah.
I played in India, and it was cool, man. Like basketball's not massive over there, but a small sport in a population of 1 billion people.
Yeah.
Still getting like 2,000 people.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
just to turn up and come watch, yeah.
Just show up. They don't know basketball. Just show up. They clap and
They
cheer.
need some shit to do.
They need something to do, man. So they just show up. They look at it. Oh, fuck, we'll watch this.
So did they pull players from all around the world?
So how it happened was basically American guys came in to run the league.
Okay.
And I think they had a few issues with the federation, the Basketball Federation of India, who at first weren't supportive at all. And they said, no, we're not going to support this.
What's that?
They're just like that, man.
Okay.
In a way, like, bro, like they're just like, you have to pay us basically. They were like, no, we're not going to pay you. We're starting this league. And if you want to be supportive and you want to get in on it, we can organize something. But they were very much like, it's our country, it's our league. Pay us if you want to do anything. So they're like, no, we're not going to pay you. So then they started this league anyway. First season was there, second season was there, get a little bit better. I went in the second season, and that was my first season there, and I was like, oh, this isn't great. But they had the foundations down pat. Like I think they invested in the right areas to build a league. Like they did a hell of a job with production. They did.
That's what I mean, because like we were watching it here and like interviews and like video content. Like that's what I mean. Like
they got they got a couple of NBA.
It was pretty dope, man.
NBA broadcasters to broadcast the league. All the interviews and all that stuff. They had like an Emmy award winning production crew. So they were like on point with all the cameras, and you walk into the stadium, it was set up. And you're like, whoa, this is crazy. The standard of basketball still had a way to go because at that time it was only domestic players and a couple of what's called NRIs, non-resident Indians. So myself, maybe one or two others. Third season came along, and we get a few more NRIs. We get a few more Indian players from the States, a couple of Indian players from Australia. One of my boys, name's Ivan, a good friend of mine actually. He's still in India, but he's a good friend of mine. He came the third season. So like I started growing a little bit. Then in between the third and fourth season, they held a training camp in Phoenix for the 10 best players from the UBA to go and train over there. And at that training camp, we met American players, and those American players were the imports that they got for the league.
Oh, gotcha.
So the fourth season, they had 3 categories of players. They had domestic players, local players, NRI players, which is like non-resident Indians, so anyone with Indian blood who's not Indian citizens, so like myself, and then they had imports. And the imports were all kind of like straight out of college or MBA, a couple of guys that had some MBA experience. So it was pretty high level. Now you're looking at, on the floor, 5 guys on the team, you're probably looking at 2 imports who are legit, probably looking at 1 to 2 NRI players who are legit as well. That's 4 out of 5 guys that are good basketball players. Then you got a bench and you fill out your roster with domestic talent and Indian talent. So the whole system started to look really good in the fourth season, and they were making some noise, signed a big TV deal. And at that point, I was signing season to season contracts. And after that fourth season, they were like, all right, we signed a TV deal with, I think, Sony Sports, which is a massive sports broadcaster. And then they go, okay, we're coming into some money. We're going to pay you guys long term. So I signed a contract for the next 4 years. And then at that point, they cancelled the league. Because apparently the federation came back.
Oh, they came
and they were like, listen, what we're going to do is...
They would have known these guys are making money too now, right?
You're going to pay us now. You're going to pay us. And they're like, no, we built this ourselves. We're not paying anybody. We did this. We're going to give it to the players. The players are working hard. And then they said, you know what? If you're going to start a league, you're not going to pay us. We're going to ban all the Indian players. They're not allowed to play. And if they play, they're not allowed to go in any of our tournaments, not allowed to represent India, not allowed to do all this. So now the Indian players are growing up being like, do I go pick up a check? Do I go play for my country? It should never be like that, man. Like, they should be able to do anything, like, you know what I mean? But that's India,
because essentially, if they thought about it from a long-term opportunity, dude, you're only growing the sport in that country, right? You're only bringing bloodline into a whole different sport and building a whole different avenue outside of fucking cricket. You know what I mean?
Like it's,
even then, like, you know,
exactly.
even
it's
then,
never about that over there.
Like you said, man, it's like billions of people. Like, I'm sure you could give a small percentage to, you know what I mean?
It's never about that stuff. You even see, like, and I don't want to hate on anything, I don't want to spread rumors or anything, but you see, like, high level talent in India, they don't do enough to foster it and look after it, man. Like they like, you get guys. I knew a guy that was in India, big time player. Like he had respect of everyone. He was a good player from India, and the BFI Basketball Federation of India, when he got injured, just kind of turned their back on him. They didn't pay for any of his rehab, none of that stuff, and he went through a massive 1 year long rehab period. And then he said, you know what, I'm not going to play for India anymore. And he was one of the best players that the country's ever produced. And you can't do that, man. You know, you got to look after your players, and they struggle with that. And you know what it's like in those countries, man. It's just money runs everything. Right person doesn't get paid, they just make decisions, and they're not, we're just doing this, doing that, and they make decisions. And it's tough, dude. At the end of the day, the sport misses out, the players miss out. You know, and now it's kind of like they're still on the back foot. They're probably exactly where they were.
Yeah, well, now they're starting again and start from scratch again, right?
They've got no league. The NBA's been talking for a long time to come into India and start a professional league. And to their credit, they started an academy, I think, a few years ago in Delhi.
So how would that work with the federation and stuff if they were coming in?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
They probably would have worked with the federation.
I'm sure they would have. It's the NBA, man.
Yeah, I know what are you gonna do, right? Go talk shit to them. Yeah, you're talking to the gangsters of basketball, the mafia, bro.
You gotta play
Yeah. They'll slap them, bro. Yeah.
So I think they're we'll see that, but they've been saying that for years, man. If a league starts in India, I think it's only good for everything. I think any sport to be viable in any country, you need a professional league, man. Like without a professional league,
you need a good system, right? Like to be able to kind of feed them the right way.
Well, the Philippines is a perfect example, man. Like talent-wise, they're good. Don't get it twisted, but they're not exceptional. They're not like beyond anything else. They love basketball. Kids love it.
Kids love it.
Religion over there. But and even with their infrastructure that's not great. Like I don't know if it's classified as a third world country, but it's not like it's Australia where they have multiple indoor stadiums and pristine conditions. Like it's a, you know, sometimes infrastructure's not great, but their system is great, man. They have high school basketball, the media coverage is great, filters straight into college basketball, media coverage is great, they do it all, and then go straight into the PBA Development League. And then from the PBA Development League, it's the PBA. And the PBA is like pros, and these guys getting paid big money, and they grew up in like villages, man, in the Philippines. But now kids looking at that, be like, all right, I'm gonna build to that. Like that's what I want to get to, you know. So you need that, man. And in India, that's a lot of the reasons
why. Man, just having schools, you need the right platform and structure, right? Which is why I admired like with AUSAHOOPS and what they were doing, because I mean not just them, but anyone that has that kind of mindset.
100%.
Because if you're not gonna try to grow the sport, if you're not gonna try to do any of that, then you know what's really the point? You know what I mean? So and it's not even just for the players, like just economically, financially, you're creating a whole nother plateau of, you know, of businesses and, you know, growth that could end up becoming something that's going to economically help your country as well. You know? So that's a shame, man. That's a shame with the whole.
Trust me, it is, bro.
But have you been watching? I mean, man, one of the questions I want to ask you is just hard. Kobe, man. That was heavy, man. I got up in the morning, I remember, and my missus turned around. She goes, "Oh, babe, do you know Kobe Bryant?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "He passed away." I said, "What?"
I thought it was a joke.
Yeah, I was like, "What?" That's like the most random. Like, not saying that you could have said any other name, and I would have been like, "Oh," but I wasn't expecting that. I mean, I guess I'll say that about anybody that they say, but
can't even describe that.
And that was heavy, man. What's your kind of like? I mean, it's easy to say what's your thoughts about it, but I mean. I think what I admired about him the most, like I watched him play and stuff, and I'm not going to sit here and say I was like, oh, Kobe was was my favorite player or whatever. But the one thing I liked was his post basketball career, how he created his own Gravity Studios and was putting out like short films and even now UFC's got this thing called Detail, and he started it originally. It's his baby. One of the fighters actually talk about it, Daniel Cormier, who actually does it. He actually does the show itself. He does, I think, narrates it or something like that. But it was Kobe's baby, and the whole idea was to kind of dive into these great athletes, and like double champions or whatever it was, and just be able to kind of analyze them and talk about it in such a way that you don't get it anywhere else, through presenters or whatever it was. So that was one of his babies, and now UFC's got his own one called Detail as well. But it was just crazy that someone with that kind of career just the hunger to like even want to go even more, go even more deeper in some other different avenue. And it's funny because a lot of people I feel like even started to see or started to gauge on him more post basketball, like that weren't maybe heavy basketball heavy basketball viewers or supporters like that watch the NBA like week in week out. But they knew what he was doing. Like, this guy won an Oscar or something for that short movie. Fucking crazy, bro. Like, you know what I mean? And it just shows you his mentality, you know what I mean? That Mamba mentality.
Yeah, so. That's what a lot of people appreciate about him. Yeah. I think that's what his legacy will carry on. Like, dude, he, beyond basketball, everyone knows, man, 5-time champion, 18-time All-Star.
Like, they know the stats, you know what I mean?
You know this, man.
And I think one of the guys, presenters was saying, like, what hurt him the most was that he believed he was the avenue, the where he was heading now, his phase, next phase was going to be even bigger than what he did in basketball, which is fucking crazy. Like, you know what I mean? So even think about that. Like, how do you top that? I'll show you how to top that.
You can't switch that off. He was just getting started, dude. Like, he was unbelievable as a person, as someone like to just watch and emulate and learn from. He was like incredible, man. Like, massive influence on me. Like, I growing up, everything I wanted to do, I got everything I learned about work ethic, everything I learned about, we just talked about it, something to do with talent. He was big in that, and he I remember him saying in an interview one time, he was like, he wants to be remembered as a player anyway. He wants to be remembered for someone that exceeded expectations. Like, he wanted to be someone that was like, whoa, we never thought he could be that good. He didn't want to be just talented and feel like, oh, he was great because he was 6'6" and super athletic. He wanted to be like, this is his talent level, this is his perceived talent, but what he achieved was up here because he made up for the rest with work ethic. He wanted to outwork everyone. And that's what his legacy is, and you see it, like you said, he won an Oscar, he's moved on to other things. You can't turn that off, bro. He's wired like that. That's true. He's just someone that's like, right, I'm gonna do this, I'm doing it. Like, that's it. I want to be the best at it. No one's gonna beat me at it. And it's sad, man, like seeing that, and then his daughter passed away with him as well, man. It's sad, dude. Because
everyone there, I think there was about 9 people.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, anyone that.
But just, I mean, the daughter as well, and man.
Heavy, bro.
And she was, and he was saying in an interview that where he was at her age, she's leaps and bounds ahead of him at that age.
She was, and you see, like, there's so many photos of him and her courtside. He's just talking to her about
I saw that one video where, and then
she,
you know what's funny? You see her and she says something back to him, and he's like, that's, it just shows you that she was so in tune with knowing what he was talking about. And that there was that one video that keeps resurfacing there at courtside, and I think he was explaining some play that just happened, and as he was explaining it, she doesn't stop him, she just kind of basically tells him what he was trying to tell her, and then he was like, and you see him nodding his head, and I was like, imagine that, like, I forgot how old she was, but just someone that age, like telling you, like, I understand what you're saying, you know what I mean? A guy that's won 5 championships.
And she was a dog man. She was a competitor because he was my girlfriend was telling me, fiance, girlfriend, whatever. She was telling me she saw an interview of Kobe, and he was with his daughter Jana, and I think there was his whole family maybe, and they were talking to him, and because he just had a 4th daughter, so he's got 4 daughters.
4 daughters.
And the interviewer was like, oh, you need a son, to carry on a legacy, like, 4 girls, like, he must be like.
That's right. Just
a joke, right?
And
she interrupted. She's like, you don't need a son, I'm right here. Like,
don't worry, I got this.
I got this. She was like, I got this.
It's so fucking bad, right?
It's one of those days that you're gonna remember for the rest of your life, bro. Waking up to that and just being like how you feel, and it still hasn't sunk in completely. It's been fresh for me still, and like I'm still processing it. Like, it feels unbelievable for someone like that. Like, I always reference it to people. It's like if Tendulkar passed away.
100%.
Imagine what the country.
Jesus Christ, man.
That country will go into shutdown. Bro.
Fucking earth.
And you look at the States. Like, I was talking to one of my friends from the States actually. This
and that, the crazy thing about even something like Tendulkar, right? It's not even just India, bro. Like, there's Indians all over the world.
Exactly.
There's cricketing fans all over the world.
And that's like Kobe, man. This guy touched.
That's what I mean.
Millions of people.
Not even just in the States, around the world. Anyone that picked up a basketball and thought, this is my dream, you can't even tell me that they didn't even think about Kobe as a benchmark.
And he is a benchmark, man. His man, his impact on the world is just.
Do you see they're trying to change the logo and there's like a million one?
I mean, anything they do
Yeah.
will be. I'm cool with anything, bro.
Yeah.
I think he's the greatest player of his generation, like without doubt for me, man. Everyone likes to compare across eras and this and that. I don't really mess with all that. I don't know who's better, Jordan, him.
I hate that. I hate the idea. Like, I am a big hater of who's the best, especially when you're tapping into different eras. Only because then you can easily just break down dot points of like what ifs. Because they're never going to be the same age. They're never going to be playing. They're never going to be like prime versus prime.
Of course not.
Right? And so when you're saying greatest and when you're saying whatever, it's so hard to say all around, because it's like, dude, how do you do that? Like, it's especially something like basketball and NBA.
Yeah.
Where if you look at who Jordan fucked with in his era, like, you know what I mean? You're talking about like Hall of Famers after Hall of Famers,
well,
you know what I mean?
It's kind of like,
and then like, you know, and then even now, like, you know, it's funny now, they were like, oh yeah, Jordan, whatever. But then, you know, 10, 20, 15 years from now, when guys that become the next stage of like the next batch of Hall of Famers will sit back 15, 20 years from now saying, oh man, you know, like LeBron or someone else with all the Hall of Famers, they're not there yet. Doesn't mean that they won't get there.
Of course not.
But it's hard. Like, I'm with you on that, man. That's like, it's like that with
everything.
It's with everything, bro. Like, even with fighting or whatever it is, that I hate comparing, because it's like people are at different stages of their life at that point. You know what I mean?
And you never know.
Yeah.
You never know. Like, man, what are you gonna say? Kobe's better than Jordan. Jordan's better than Kobe.
Yeah.
No, he's got this many.
It's conversation. Yeah, 100%. It's gonna turn onto a punch on if it doesn't get solved. You know what I mean? Someone's just gonna lose their shit.
Anyone that you throw in that conversation. Is great, and you just have to ignore.
But I think where Kobe will also stand out, I believe, and this is not to take anything away from anyone else that has ever done anything outside of basketball, but what he's done outside basketball, the impact he had outside of basketball, like just the you know, the whole Mamba mentality and just what he did, like, you know, I was telling you, with him moving into like the entertainment, you know, aspect of it, and just you know, working with kids, and he had the I think he had a school, right, or something like that as well. Was it just a team? Was it just his team, or
he had he started the Mamba Sports Academy.
Sports Academy, that's what I'm talking about.
Across all sports.
Oh, okay,
they do a ton of different sports, and you know, that was just
and things like that, man. I think that's what makes him great. You know what I mean? I think that's what will make him, you know, the greatest. Is
sad, man. It's like one of those things that you just never gonna forget, man. And
like, I feel like even if you're not a basketball fan and you heard those news, just because you know who Kobe Bryant is, you would have been just shocked the whole, like, half.
I think it's also the nature of it. It's like it's a helicopter crash randomly, like, how does that even happen?
And it's crazy because I was reading it yesterday, and it was yesterday or this morning, saying his wife said they made a pact that both of them would never catch a helicopter together. And there's this whole thing, because it's like, well, if something happens, at least there's one parent there. Not just them, but there was someone else that said that too, that they never catch a helicopter, like the father and the mother never catch it together, because if something ever happens, then at least someone's still alive, present, which is fucking even trippy to think about that. But yeah, they made a pact. They just said they made a pact never to catch a helicopter together. So.
Bro. I mean, I understand why now. Like, I think I'll be getting in helicopter.
Like, you know what I mean? You think about it, man. Anytime you get on a plane or anything, right? Anything can fucking happen.
And that's another thing it shows you. Like, a lot of players, a lot of guys have said this. Like you cannot take anything from like Kobe Bryant. This guy for me is invincible. This guy's Superman, bro. Like, I look at him like he's the greatest, mentally, physically. Like, I try and emulate everything he tried to do, and then in a moment, someone like that can just pass away. It's like, dude, starts putting everything in perspective.
100%, man. 100%.
And I just hope that.
And it was like a 10-minute helicopter ride, or something like that.
I haven't looked into
it.
I don't even read anything.
I was watching the news. I was reading it somewhere that, like, he was saying that, no, it wasn't even the news. I was watching an interview of his where he was saying why he catches the helicopter. And that. You know, and he was like, it's only a 10-minute ride or whatever. So it's like,
I think he was going to his.
And he was going to the to the game. He was going to the game because LA traffic and shit is crazy. Heavy, so But anyway, that was man. That was kind of.
This will sting for a while, man. This will be like a massive hit, man. Like, it's a massive hit to the game.
And I feel like when the Lakers, win their next championship, I think it'll be fucking emotional as well. I think because of this as well.
This one,
yeah,
that's the impact he had. Man.
Yeah.
The reaction is just indicative of how many people he touched and how many people he inspired. Man.
Yeah.
Hopefully that carries on.
With getting back to NBL, so I took a bit of a U-turn there. Where do you see, man, in terms of growth, in terms of what does the NBL you feel need to keep doing in order to kind of be, not to say that the NBL is not a premier organization as such around the world, but to get to that status? Because I truly believe, like, I back you up in saying that, fuck, we got talent here. Like, even now you look at MMA, man, now fucking we're starting to get a name. We've had two champions. One's a current champion, and Whitaker was another champion. One's out of out Smith and Grange, out that way. Another guy's out of Sydney. You know what I mean? Volkanovski, who just won the featherweight title in December. So like now we've got two UFC MMA high level, champions. One current and one former.
Yeah.
So I know for a fact when it comes to like sports and athletes in Australia, I fucking believe we got we got the cream of the crop here too. But what do you see in terms of an organization? Where do you think they need to go in order to get to kind of that?
Yeah.
Is it what they're doing right now and then just keep doing it? Because obviously there was a time where there were, there was NBL, then they, obviously they shut up shop and then they came back again, right? So what would they have to do to stop that from happening again?
I think, it's hard to say. Obviously I'm not heavily involved in any of that stuff. I see what I see and I talk to a few people involved that are in the scene and I understand, I piece together what I know.
Yeah.
But I think they're doing a reasonable job. To be frank, man, like we know this, like everything revolves around finances and economics, bro. And when you're looking at 25 million people in a whole country, you're gonna struggle to reach the heights of America, which have 400 million people. That being said, I think they got to continue to press on with what they're doing. I think they got to have clearer pathways in which to get to the NBL. Like 15-year-old kids don't know how to play in the NBL. They don't know how to get there. They don't have a set avenue in which how to get there. You look at the AFL, I always use the AFL as an example. They do an unbelievable job, man. Like marketing it from the top all the way down to grassroots. Like every AFL team will have an academy. And they go and handpick players to join that academy. And they'll train 3 times a week. They'll meet AFL players and they'll be exposed to that professional environment from a young age. And they have pathways in place.
So they can understand work ethic and what it takes to play the cream, play with the elites.
I don't think NBL teams are really doing that well.
Which I think is probably the major point. I think that's the major one. Like what you just said is probably one of the biggest things that
I think you gotta solidify pathways
from the basic foundation all the way to the top.
You gotta understand how to get there.
And
not that it has to be that route.
But
you gotta provide something for kids to be like, hey, you can become a Sydney King. This is how you do it. And they're seeing it, they're looking at it, but then a lot of kids I talk to are like, fuck, what do I do? Like I train, but then what do I do? Like where do I play? Who do I talk to? What do I do? Like in the States, for instance, like you play high school basketball, and then the culture is just there. College coaches, if you're good enough, they'll come to you and they'll say, we want you to come to our college. We'll give you a scholarship, we'll pay for your education, come play for us. And you have another college, and you have another college.
So it's almost like they have people on the aggressive as well, going there and actually scouting and looking and keeping an eye out for talent.
Even one tier below the NBL.
Which is state. What would that be?
So it's in the process of transitioning nationwide.
Okay.
They have the NBL up top.
Yeah.
Below that, last year they ran it for the very first time called the NBL 1, which is like the NBA G League or
gotcha.
whatever it is, like a development
league. So is that above grade?
So basically, I'll go from the top down. NBL. NBL 1, they ran it last year. And every state, the aim is to have every state to run an NBL 1. So then like every state has their own league that's directly filtered into the NBL. And then below the NBL 1, it's like junior basketball. Right now in Sydney, they have what's called the Waratah League, which is hopefully that'll turn into the NBL 1, or a few of those teams will join the NBL 1 in Victoria, New South Wales, the combined league. I'm hearing different rumours about what's going to happen. It was supposed to happen this year, but I don't think that it went ahead. Not sure. But so that's the current setup at the moment. And it's right now it's like there's apart from that, there's no real avenues. Like in the States, like I said, like you go from high school to college to NBA, and all across those levels, recruitment is heavy. Coaches are coming up saying, I want you to play, come join our college. Oh, you don't want to play? All right, I love this guy. And they'll have hundreds of kids that they're recruiting and they're scouting. Here it's not like that. Like the NBL 1 teams or the Waratah League teams in New South Wales, like they don't recruit, man. They don't go to.
Which is crazy because it's not like, I mean, you know, growing up, like even with my friends, like you know, with you guys and whatever, like there's no lack of love for basketball. Fucking, you go to any court from
participation is
park, like from a park basketball court, like it's heavy, it's intense. People turn up to fucking play, man. You know what I mean? Like that's what I mean. That's why I find it so crazy that I feel NBL should be way higher and way bigger than what it is, because if you look at it from the most street basketball level, shit's hectic, man. Like people turn up to come and play. They just, you know, there's a love for it. But like you said, like the reason I asked you that question was to see if that was the answer, which is, you know, and we spoke about it briefly before jumping on the podcast, was that people just don't know where to go, like where to put them, like how do I get there? And I think people just need to be shown, how do I get there? Show me the way, and then I'll put it, you know, end of the day, it's going to come down to how much work you put in.
And you're never going to have a perfect system.
Yeah.
People are always going to go out a different route to get That's all fine. But there's just.
But you need to still have some sort of structured system.
Like after high school, like I said, like you can't do anything with basketball. Yeah. Like I know a couple of kids that are development players with the Sydney Kings.
Yeah.
And that's like 3 kids. Yeah. Like, you know, what about the rest of them? And then the rest of them trying to get to college, and they think, okay, that's the only way. And a lot of them don't get college scholarships. Yeah. They just go, all right, well, fuck, I'll become a fucking electrician. Let's go pick up a trade. And then they play basketball in the Waratah League, and they don't get paid anything. And it's sad because they had talent and they had the ability to probably go and do something with it. It's just not there, and it's hard, man. Like it's one of those chicken or the egg. Like how do you fix a system that's been in place for that long, and where do you start? And it's difficult, man. But I think it's gonna take time, and it takes.
I think they can always look at other sports, like you mentioned,
AFL, pristine, but
you know, and like obviously I'm a massive rugby league fan, and I know that there's been talks about like their grassroots are good, but even them, they're trying to expand their grassroots and whatnot from you know, trying to invest more into their grassroots. I mean, they got a pretty good grassroots system, and you know how to go about it.
But even the NRL system is much better.
Much better, yeah.
Look at, they got first grade, they got 20s.
Yeah. Well, shout out to Trey. I've trained with him, and shout out to Next Level Fitness as well, the strength and conditioning gym. But like, it was funny. Like I was training with him, and he was playing junior Parramatta juniors. It was pretty sure it was the juniors, and then as you know, I'm a massive Raiders fan. So the other day, I was just looking at the Canberra Raiders preseason training, and fucking Trey's there. And so I messaged him and I said, "Yo, what's going on?" He goes, "Man, they've got me in on a development contract, and you know, he's only I think 17 or 18 years old. He's fucking got a massive future ahead of him. He's an absolute beast of a talent, and I know that Canberra, they are heavily investing in their juniors and their grassroots, and you know, and around the country areas and whatnot. But they've got like you said, they've got a system, like, you know, from a young age, you can find your way through to the NRL if you want to, and
if you're in the right setting,
you can do that. You know, so that's what I'm saying. They can lean on other organizations and whatnot. I mean, even to this day, like even specific teams, like I know, again, I mentioned the Raiders because obviously I follow them, but their whole management team and coaches and all, they've been to the All Blacks, you know, facility and whatnot, and seeing their systems and how they go about it and how they prepare their players and how they get the best out of their players and recovery and all these things. So I think it's a matter of just going and seeing what other organizations and how they build their systems, and it doesn't have to be carbon copy, but at least you'll start to get an idea of how to build it. Because I just find it so crazy. Like basketball, it's like it's way bigger than people think that it is here, like in terms of the love for it and people wanting to play. But I think, like you said, a lot of people just pull out because they're like, fuck, I don't know, like, what am I going to do? Spend the next 5-6 years saying I want to play basketball and I get in my 30s.
Well, let's put it this way.
That's what I mean.
I'm playing for North this season, which is like one tier below the NBL.
Yeah.
and I got to pay my rego, bro.
Yeah.
I got to pay my rego
Yeah.
to play, bro. Like, it's not like in any other sport, football. You play New South Wales Premier League.
Yeah, you got sponsorship money,
bro.
people. Yeah, exactly.
Dude, some of these teams, NBL one teams in Melbourne, for instance, they have a budget, $100,000.
Yeah.
And they'll pay players. Even if I could pick up $10,000 for the season, that would help me.
It did help me with so much shit. Exactly.
Right, and then you feel like you're valued.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean. Like the culture is just not there to like.
Because you gotta have the want to be driven as well, right? And the only way you're gonna be driven is if you see where you're going and you know how to get there, right?
And as an athlete, like you'd appreciate this, like mentally, you have to feel wanted, bro. Like if you get a coach or an organization that's like, 100%. Hey, listen, we'll take care of your fees. Hey, listen, we'll pay for your gym membership. Listen, you have 24-hour access to this gym. You can shoot around whenever you want to shoot 100%. Around. 100%. You feel like, all right, you know what? Let's do this. Like, this guy's looking out for me.
And then you're up at 3:34 in the morning, like, fuck, let's go.
But if it's like, hey, you haven't paid your $600, you're not gonna play. Fuck, I don't need to. I'm not gonna play. And it's just like the culture's just like that, man. And it's tough. And I think I'll be honest, man. Like, there's a lot of non-basketball minds.
Oh, that was my next question. I was
in charge, making decisions. It's like, what are they've never played at a high level. They've never been involved at a high level, but they're still trying to make decisions for the greater good, and it doesn't make any sense, man. So I think it needs a revamp. I think it needs
because it'll be hard for them to understand what it takes as well, right? Or even like
I have no idea.
Yeah, like what's kind of the what are some of the hills that they've got to climb from grassroots to the NBL and stuff? Like probably the lack of understanding of what really needs to be fixed. And like you said, it's everything is so as long as
and it's tough, man. Like I'm not saying that it's like people are incompetent, but like you got to make sure that like people in charge making decisions switched on to exactly what's going on. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's difficult, man.
And that's the beauty of like AUSAHOOPS, and like again going back to what I said earlier was that's why I respect it, because I think that would make these aspired kids and people wanting to play a high level basketball get up in the morning and be like, yo, there's a way there. And then you see your dreams, and then you can see, that's how I'm gonna get there. Like it's hard to vision something if it's just like
in thin air.
Yeah, it's like what do I do? How do I get there? You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's not like I said. You don't want to you can't spoon feed.
You can't spoon feed them, but
if you got to give them a realistic approach to how they're gonna get somewhere.
So
like if I want to become a doctor, bro, I know. I gotta go to uni for 8 years. I gotta study like a machine. I gotta do long nights. I gotta do all this shit, and I'll get there. If I want to become an NBL player, it's like fuck, do I just train? Is that it? Like, what else do I do? Who do I play for? Who do I talk to? It's just not there, bro. But on the flip side, you were saying if you want to be an NRL player, like you can go play for junior clubs. You can contact these academies. All these NRL teams have academies. I was at the Penrith facility.
The Center of Excellence.
They got the Panthers.
Because they're building so. Funny enough, just before you continue, they all like different teams now have like their own center of excellence, and Canberra's just building theirs. I think theirs is opening up in February finally after a fucking ridiculous amount of years. And basically the whole idea of the center of excellence is everything you need is there. And so you don't have to go train here and here and here. It's center of excellence, and I think Penrith, I think Melbourne, Brisbane, the Broncos all have it. They were like the leading.
Penrith's one. I don't know if it was the same one. I went about maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago. I went for another reason for something else, but I was there. And I was watching them train, and then like we just sat there at the facility, and they train out back on the paddock on the field. They have the presses. The press come in and they talk to them after training. This is just midweek, just to get things, or who's injured, who's not. And you see the coach and all the players talking. Then in the back where we were sitting, we were in this room. They had a fridge filled with drinks. They had a fridge filled with fruit. They had chef there cooking for them, post-training meals for every player who was there. And they have a gym there, a rehab team there. And it's like, these guys are like, they go there and that's work for them. They get there in the morning, they train, figure out what they have to do for the day. They might have media work to do, they might have promo work to do, they might have rehab work to do, whatever it is. Everything's in-house and everything's done through there. Then the 20s team coming up, they train there, they see it all. They look at it. It's crazy.
So they know what it takes. That's the thing, and they keep getting reminded. These first grade players, these NRL players, they'll keep getting reminded that, dude, you guys are professional
Exactly.
athletes. Professional athletes means you need to look after your body, your mind and soul, what you do
Everything.
outside of everything, and you start.
We're gonna fund it.
Yeah.
And we'll take care of
Yeah,
it. Just commit to it.
like, but
You
you
look-
gotta treat, you gotta handle yourself like a
Professionally.
professional athlete.
Well, you look at the kids.
And you
man.
will, because if you, I mean, if people fuck up or whatever, right? That's human behavior. But how does that not get you up every morning knowing
Well,
that,
that's what I
man,
mean.
I'm
Like,
doing
you
like,
look at the
yeah.
Sydney Kings.
yeah.
Bro, they're training right now at fucking Auburn Basketball Center.
Shit.
They don't have a facility.
Yeah.
They don't have a facility. They don't have a center of excellence. They don't have anything like that.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I don't want to say that they don't want to. I'm
Yeah,
not saying
yeah,
they don't. I'm just saying, like,
No.
how do you get to that? I don't know. How do the
Yeah.
NRL do it? How do the AFL do it?
Yeah.
Why can't the NBL get it
Yeah,
done?
yeah.
Like, I would
It's all
love
going to
for
come
them
down to funding and money, but I just don't see why they can't.
Yeah.
I just find it hard because there was a point where NRL was struggling, right, in terms of getting bums on seats because of pricing of cost of like tickets, getting people there, then buying food and everything. But it was also the way the game was being promoted and whatnot, right? And then it was funny. Then you see certain teams, even a team like Canberra, when they started to come and fight for the top 5 spot, top 4, and then last year went into the grand final, fucking every time they're playing a big team in Canberra or any home game, I remember the memberships was like about 8,000 members at one point, and now they're hitting like 21,000 members in a 25,000 seat stadium. So now they're pushing the ACT government and the New South Wales government to build a brand new 30,000 seat stadium with a closed roof and shit because they're like, we need it now. And so they signed another 5 year. Now they've got the Centre of Excellence now, which is going to open up soon. So the quality of football is going to get better. The juniors coming through are going to have a better system, and so the game's only going to grow. Which and something like a basketball, which is like a sport played all over the world. Right, like you can't tell me that you can't have someone there to help build and finance. I just find it so crazy that basketball of all sports is struggling with that. You know what I mean? When you can look anywhere in the world and pick information off and pick ideas off and be like, okay, how do we start building this? It's not going to happen tomorrow, but man, NBL's been around for some time. You know what I mean? Like, so hopefully, I don't know what the current state is and if that's what they're thinking and if that's what people there are doing now. But I just find it weird because I know that I've just seen, being a massive NRL head, I've just seen what other teams do and, with their whole Centre of Excellence and the way they bring in the juniors and whatnot, the attention put on them and from even a club level, even from a club level. I've been to a few local club games like Rouse Hill and the Hills Bulls, when they play and it's not packed, but there's a decent crowd, man. You know what I mean? There's a decent crowd. And now with social media and everything, fuck, man, if someone plays really well, you fucking put that up. The scouts are watching.
Crazy, bro.
And they've got people, like each club has like what do you call it? Like a talent kind of program, so like they got people going out there looking for talent, looking at different clubs and juniors, and that's how Trey, the guy that found Trey, he's what's his name? His name's not coming to him. He's a well-respected guy in the NRL world. And obviously Canberra took him on board as a recruiter, and he's got a big name for like Peter Malone anyway. But so he's got a big reputation. So yeah, man, I just find it real weird because like fucking basketball is crazy, like especially here, like so I just find it so weird. But like let's hope that they look at like they got so many organizations they could lean on. And like I said, man, there's a lot of clubs in footy that go overseas and look at certain dynasties. Like they've gone and seen what New Zealand and the All Blacks and how they run their, how professional they are, right? They've gone over to England and seen their rugby union teams and whatnot, and seen how they carry themselves and how they go about training and etc. So I think it's just picking information and then just having someone who wants to, like you said, wants to actually see the sport grow. And like you said, and keep doing what they've been doing, which is bringing these, high school basketball players like LaMelo and all these guys over and keep growing, and it makes people want to come play here, and but anyway, man, appreciate you coming through, bro.
Of course, bro.
I know, I got a busy weekend coming up.
Yeah, bro.
But I know you said you got in your DJing now too and
Yeah,
shit. So I'm looking
that's
forward
the
to that
next-
shit. I already got some plans for you anyway
that's
this
the
year,
next-
man.
the
So
next
to get you
phase
on
for me,
board for a
man.
few things. So
Yeah,
hopefully, yeah, man. Let me know if you're hitting some clubs up and
for sure, bro.
yeah, whatnot.
That's my next. That's
Yeah,
my plan
yeah.
for
I
the
don't, know
year.
I don't know how I can handle a club these days, but I'll probably just come stand next to you for
course,
half
bro.
the night, bro. I don't know if I can still share the same energy in the club like I used to back in the day,
Yeah, bro.
but man, I appreciate it, my dog.
course,
Thanks for coming.